Here's the deal. Sales isn't about pushing harder, talking better, or flooding inboxes. That's noise, not strategy. Real business development? It's about presence, precision, and knowing exactly how the room feels before you open your mouth. Jake Stahl, author of Own the Room, How to Communicate to Be Seen, Heard, and Respected, has spent over 30 years training teams across 6 countries and 47 states, teaching solopreneurs how to turn conversations into conversion. Known as the mind mechanic, people who have been trained by him say he has the uncanny ability to break down human behavior and rebuild it into real, repeatable influence. This is where communication becomes your unfair advantage. Welcome to Own the Room with Jake Stahl.
I am so excited today because Michele Phillips, the president of Key Performance, is joining us today. And everybody, she is a neuroscience, psychology, formula for success person. And boy, she is going to really rile us up today with some of the stuff she talks about. So Michele, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here, Jake. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. So Michele, I read your background and I have to tell you, I'm blown away. Certified practitioner in positive psychology. You have an MA in organizational development from Fordham. You have a great book out there, which I just read while I was on vacation called Happiness is a Habit. And I know from our discussion, you have another one on the way. And on top of not being busy enough, you're also the president of Key Performance. So I was hoping we could start there. Tell us what Key Performance is, what your mission is, and what you're doing with it.
Yes, gosh. So I just celebrated my 25th year in business in August.
Congratulations.
So it's been a wonderful ride and it's evolved. But back in 2000, 1997 or so, I started getting into self-help and, how the brain works. And it all started, you're a sales guy, with I was teaching Brian Tracy's the psychology of
of course.
sales.
Yes,
Brian
great
Tracy.
book.
I literally, it lit me up. So I was like, this is the greatest stuff. And then I went back to Fordham and I got my degree. And then I jumped ship and I started working with companies, doing the training. But what my sweet spot is intact groups where I love speaking to the masses and I'll do keynotes and all that stuff.
Of
But
course.
where the results, when you work with a team that's 12 and under or 20 and under, you can't hide. And when I get in the room with these smaller groups, they're able to make quicker decisions, be more honest, get better alignment. So that's been my sweet spot over the last, 25 years of doing the mass training, but again,
Oh,
working
yeah.
with intact teams.
So you talk a little bit about happiness and the use of habits and structure to make the organization better. Let's talk a little bit about that. How do we how do we define happiness, I guess is my question.
Good question. I think everyone defines that for themselves, but what the research shows, so that's what I love. I've got one foot in metaphysics and the other in science
Oh,
research.
that's why you're perfect for this show,
Yes.
Michele.
And I love bringing them together. So the research showed this is what started me that when people did something for themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally on a regular basis, they felt better. So I used to tease in my classes, you could take a walk in the woods. You could take a walk in the woods with a loved one and hit 3 out of 4. So it's really about looking at your habits in those areas and saying, what am I doing for myself mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally? And then creating habits that run you on autopilot, habits that are good for you versus habits that are detrimental.
That's fantastic. So, how do you pull that into the workplace? Because that's got to be a bit of a challenge, right? Doing something for yourself while you're in the workplace. What does that look like?
So in the workplace, I usually my in is the mental habits. You
Got
know,
it.
companies are definitely open. I mean, I go in banking, the banking companies, all the banking companies in the city, and we talk about mindset. They're really big on, fixed mindset versus growth mindset and all those things. And then the other habits are natural. I bring those in kind of, as part of the package. But most companies want their, people. And let me even back this up. I always say I work with the believers, Jake. In every company, there's someone who gets the importance of this, the importance
Yes.
that their people need to take care of themselves so they don't have burnout, and that they need to take care of themselves mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally so they do better work. So when I go into corporations, I always find a leader who is a big believer in this, and then they're my advocate to then, bring that through the company.
So, Michelle, how often do you come up against a company where you really have to sell this? Listen, you got to take care of yourself, and I'm going to help you do that. Is this a hard sell for companies, or is this actually getting better in the day and age of mindfulness?
It's definitely getting better, but I do a lot of other training also. So I
Right.
might get in the door doing something that's more HR related. And then once they realize I have the book, they want the book, and then people get the results. So I think that's the biggest thing to my testament. Most of the people I work with get promoted. Even I was working with someone, and the boss said, you know what? She might never be where I want her, but she's happier. She's doing her work. She's not like making, the drama like she was before. So when people see results like that, and the results can be, depending on the person, as little as 30 days, again, the momentum and keeping it going, that's another
Yeah, of course.
story.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm good with, I'm a specialist and an expert in getting people to open up and trust, because I'm open and I'm trusting. And then once people know I want their best interests, I have their best interests at heart, they make steps. Sometimes the steps are smaller than I'd like, but I celebrate every step you take in the right direction. And I'm your biggest advocate. So that's my sweet spot. Companies, sometimes there's a naysayer, but my energy, I love this and I believe in it so much. When you believe in something so much,
Oh, yeah.
the naysayers don't mess with you as much. They might, try, but and that's the other thing. I'm not here to change your mind.
Yeah.
I'm here to share all this fabulous knowledge and research, and then you be the judge. You try it on. So I'm not really forcing anyone to do anything.
So you said that sometimes you go into a company and you talk about some of the other things that you teach or other talks that you do. Talk to me about some of the others that you do with companies.
Yeah, so a lot of things I do. I do personality assessments. I use Tilt 365, which a lot of my clients love. Myers Briggs. Just there's so many out
Oh,
there. This
yeah.
is the one that I really love. What I love about this assessment is it shows not only who you are when you're in alignment, but who you are when you're out of alignment. So I couple that with my program, Write Your Outcome, where when you are mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally in what the athlete would call the zone, a
Right.
positive psychologist would call flow, you are the most influential, you are the most brilliant, you are making decisions, you are grooving and juving, whatever. But the minute your emotions spit you out into envy, anger, anxiousness, overwhelm, you are not in your full power. So I coupled this assessment with what I call the write your outcome method to help people know when they're in their strong influential zone, and when they get spit out emotionally, knowing how to get themselves back in based on self-talk, self-soothing, things like that.
That's incredible. So how does this or does this tie back to something like imposter syndrome? Because it seems to me that imposter syndrome would be something where we know we've got the talent, but as soon as we're asked to show it, your brain's like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. So does any of this tie back to that, Michelle?
I'm sure it does. I don't have the research on that, but for me it's knowing when if everyone listening right now can think of when I love the example of dancing, like when you were just one day you were on the dance floor, you were jogging or fishing, or you were doing something that all of your senses were engaged and you just felt at one with who you are. What I'd like to teach people is this is something you can achieve on a daily basis if you know how to get yourself there. It doesn't have to be something something good doesn't have to happen externally for you to feel this way. And when the reason people have imposter syndrome is because they're in their head with their thoughts and what everybody else is thinking, and they're not in the heart of who they really are. So
Yeah.
when you're mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally in that beautiful zone, I named it the Duende Blende, is a thing I made up. I'll tell you that in a minute. you know how good that feels. So duende is a Spanish term from flamenco, like the duende, like they have, it's like a je ne sais quoi. They have a presence. And so when you're in this, connected to the universe, connected to yourself, connected to your Einstein brain, call it what you want, really teaching people that, how to get there, not hoping to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, in neurolinguistic programming, we call that anchoring. So you want to anchor to that feeling and be able to bring it back at any time. So I can really, I can dig what you're laying down.
Yes.
So talk to me a little bit about where somebody would start. So you go into a group of people and you say, listen, we're going to get you back centered. We're going to get your everything aligned perfectly. Where do you even start?
Well, so basically, so two different things. So two types of groups I work with. Like 2 weeks ago, I was in Pennsylvania, and it was just a, I don't want to say random. It was just a group of folks that were in a room. So they were not, oh, maybe on the same team. Then last week I was in, where was I last week? Oh my gosh, Fort Worth, Texas, with an intact team. But the same rule applies. It's really, when I say write your outcome, I ask people, think of something you want, in your career, in life, in the next day. It could be anything. What's the outcome you want, right? You have to know, begin with the end in mind, of, as Stephen Covey would say. Now, how do you feel about what you wrote? And that's where people get messed up, because we think if we just write it, it's going to come true, or we're going to get it,
Right?
but we
It's
don't
magic.
believe it. Yeah, we don't believe it. We don't feel it. So then I created a circle which shows all the positive emotions. So when you're in that duende blende, that zone, that flow, you feel love, you feel brilliant, you feel joy. But then there's two, the spit out zones are, depression, anxious. So I list all the different emotions, and people need to identify where they are emotionally. Now, what most people want to do when if you're feeling depressed, think of the lowest emotion. Someone that's depressed, and I know you know this, someone that's depressed has no energy. They can't even get out of bed to get themselves dressed. Now you think of someone that's joyful, you think of lightness and love and freedom. Most people want to jump from not feeling good to feeling good like this. So
Right.
that's why we drink, drug, shop, internet, you name whatever addicted behavior. So what
Right.
I call it the ladder up technique is name where, you know, I get so excited. Sorry, I guess just I go so fast, Jake. The shamans have a saying called name it to tame it. So last week I was with a gentleman. He said to me, I don't know what I'm feeling. It's good or bad. I'm like, it's deeper than good or bad. Is it overwhelmed? Is it disappointed? Is it frustrated? Is it tired? Because once you name really what the emotion is, then the goal is what's one thing that'll make you feel a little bit better, not jump to the top, but I'm just feeling overwhelmed and tired. My phone is blowing up. I can't keep up. What's another, something that'll feel a little bit better? I'm just angry. I worry. So worry is a little bit up the emotional ladder from overwhelm. I worry it'll never get back to normal. And then really, I really like my job, contentment, right? So now I'm a little bit up the emotional ladder. Then I really like being needed. Not for nothing, like my phone will probably always be blowing up. And now you get to hope I always handle things. I've always figured it out. So instead of trying to jump from the lower emotions to the top, you go one step at a time. And we do this in the class. There's a writing exercise where you actually are writing, and then what I want people to feel is the palpable relief as they walk themselves up the emotions. And the beauty of it is we're all in a classroom, nothing's changed, but
Right.
how
Yeah.
you look at it and then what you're saying has shifted.
Yeah. NLP does techniques similar to
Yes.
that too. It's
Yeah.
amazing and great to hear you talking about this because it really mirrors what we talk about on the show. So, our audience is primarily business owners, fractional people, people that suffer from these things every day. You have a great phone call at 9 a.m., you're really high and you're going, then something drastic happens at 10. And so you're heading into lunch kind of on a downswing.
Yeah.
So, Michele, if you could start to offer some advice to listeners to just how to start to just one or two tweaks they can do to try and rein in the emotions so that one bad incident maybe doesn't take out the rest of your day.
Yeah, and thank you. It's like exercise. First of all, start from a good place in the morning. So my number one thing is every single morning do something that inspires, educates, or entertains you, like something that feeds you, influences you. So whether it's a good book, listening to your podcast, reading a couple pages out of something that inspires you, inspires, motivates, or educates you. I said that wrong. Every morning, take in something that inspires, motivates, or educates you. So you start off on a good foot. Then you get to work. I don't know, the email blows up, the meeting gets canceled. Emotional intelligence research shows we have 27 emotions an hour. That's a
Wow.
lot, one in an hour. So realize that the emotional roller coaster is real. Most
That's
people
incredible.
ignore them, endure them, spread them, but they don't process them. So I like to tell people, if you're feeling exhausted at the end of the day and you're not lifting bricks for a living, it's probably because you are not processing your emotions as the day goes, and they're building and getting heavier and heavier and heavier. Versus the minute you feel that twist in your gut, stop. What just happened? I committed to something I don't want to do. I got an email in all caps. Something just, and then it's like, oh, the email in all caps. It's not that, and then once you can identify, name it to tame it. I feel disrespected. I feel overwhelmed. I said something about someone I shouldn't have said. I feel guilty. Then you can process the emotion and go on with your day. Versus most people just keep ignoring. It's like this, then it's the straw that broke the camel's back, because
Yeah.
you didn't deal with your emotions when they were happening. And you get so good at handling your emotions that you start to experience what I call magic carpet days, which is the basis of my next book. Because when you learn to process your emotions, you don't dip low very often anymore. You're just, stuff happens and you live in the real world, but
Yeah,
you
of course.
don't let it keep you down as long.
So let me voice the obvious pushback here, because I
Yeah.
love what you're saying. But if we're saying that we're doing 27 emotions an hour, we're averaging roughly one every 2 minutes and umpteen seconds, right? So if we take the time to process all of those, are we going to get better at it as time goes on, or are we going to be processing 27 times
No,
every
no,
hour? And I'm not trying to be
that's a good
facetious. I'm
question.
just thinking out
Yeah.
loud.
No, that's a great question. I love it. You're only processing the ones that twist your gut,
Gotcha.
right? If it feels good, keep going. Like, if I always say, these are the two questions: how am I feeling? And am I happy with my results? Most people never even ask how they're feeling. They just want to know what they're thinking.
Right.
I want to
Yeah.
know, how are you feeling? If you say, I'm feeling good, I'm happy, then just keep moving. But the minute you go, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling rejected, I'm feeling disrespected, take a minute to process.
That's fantastic. Because I love what you're saying. I'm a firm believer that if you get something in your head or you have an emotion, you need to say it. You don't need to act it out, but at least say it. Acknowledge it, name it, throw it away, do whatever you want to do with it, but acknowledge it. So I love what you're saying. So, as part of this, in your book, Michele, on happiness as a habit, is this one of the daily rituals in, processing these emotions during the day?
Yeah, and happiness is a habit. The habit I talk about is guide your thoughts all day long.
Yep.
And it's impossible to be in a bad mood if you're focused on something that makes you happy. So most people are, and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Our brains are set up to keep us safe. They're not set up to keep us happy. So our brains are always looking for danger and negativity,
Yeah.
and they're just like glomming onto all the negative stuff. To override the fight and flight system, you have to be purposefully looking for things that are going right. And so that's what I teach people. So if I said to you, anybody listening right now, let's all share the story of the best day of our lives. I would listen to your story, Jake, and my heart would open. I would get excited. I would feel your emotions and you would feel them again.
Yeah.
But if I said to everyone, let's talk about the worst day of your life, we'd feel horrible in less than 10 minutes. So realizing, I want people to make the connection that what they're focusing on and thinking is giving them their emotions, what they're feeling.
So I love that. And I loved your book. Like I said, I just read it while I was on vacation in prepping for the podcast, and I loved it. And I'm going to incorporate a couple If you could pull out just a couple that you could share with the audience that hasn't read the book yet, what are some of the heavy hitters that you would suggest people do as a habit that they could start today?
Well, my favorite one is listen to audiobooks in the shower or podcasts. Um, we have to turn our life, people, and nothing against true crime, but I know so many people that are addicted to true crime podcasts. And I'm like, what is that adding to your life but making you afraid to leave your house? So, again, nothing against that if you're into it, but it's like a diet, right? You wouldn't eat fast food 30 days in a row. You eat fast food once or twice a week, and then you eat nutrition. So, while you're in your car, while you're in your shower, what's nutritious? What's going to feed your mind, body, spirit, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a book. I mean, I'm a woman. I'm in the bathroom at least an hour every morning. So I like, using that time to get me in a good space. So
Yeah.
that's one of my favorites. There's so many. Oh my gosh, let's see. Inspire, read something that inspires, motivates, or educates you. Again, that's the same thing. Journaling is huge for me. The neuroscience behind journaling is that you're engaging 4 out of your 5 senses. So when you're journaling, you are kinesthetically writing. You're saying what you're writing, so you're saying it, seeing it, and hearing it, and your brain is slowing down. And this brings blissful clarity. I guarantee everyone, you cannot journal for an extended period of time and not have a breakthrough, an aha moment, or a new perspective. It's guaranteed.
Well, and it's forcing you to name the things, right? When you're journaling, you're naming. So I love the part about the journaling. I'm not a big journaler by habit, but it made me think twice.
Yeah. And nature, I mean, these things, that's what I say about my habits. There's 44 habits in my first book. And I ask people to look and then pick the ones that work for you. And if you just picked one thing, it could be so simple like eating an apple. If everyone listening said, I'm going to eat an apple for the next 90 days, it becomes something on autopilot. Habits
Right.
require no energy. And then in the next 90 days, you start walking around the block. The next 90 days, you listen to an uplifting podcast. In 5 years, Jake, you have 20 new positive, powerful habits. And to me, that is like a home run.
Yeah. Yep. I listen to a couple of YouTube channels on a regular basis that are all about motivation. So that's one of my positive habits. And I noted it was in your book about listening to something that really moves you and encourages you.
Yeah, and people say, "Oh, that guy's saying the same thing as that woman," and I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, but it's just like eating apples. You need nutrition every day, and you need to hear it again, unless it's something you've really incorporated in your life, and you don't need a reminder."
Well, and you always assimilate what's told to you based on the context that you're in. So something that may not mean something to me today
Yes.
may mean something different to me contextually tomorrow. So I love listening to the same things over and over again because certain days it hits me in just a different angle, you know?
Well, you're hitting something really important: the repetition.
Right.
We repetition is the key to all success. Anything anyone listening, anything you're good at, you repeat a pattern. If you're good at organizing, you're repeating that pattern. If you're good at sales, you're doing those steps that you need to do to get the sales. So what's the repetition that's going to get you the result you want versus not?
Yeah. And if multiple people are saying the same thing, that should be telling you that it's pretty important.
Yeah.
So let's take a step now to your next book. You have another book coming out. Tell us the
Yes.
title and let's talk about that a little bit.
Very excited because literally just coming out it'll come out in November. It's called Energize Your Happiness, Tap into Your Personal Energy and Shape Your Destiny.
Ooh,
So this came,
powerful title.
I love it. And I love that the cover was designed by a friend, so I really love it. Um,
Nice. I like the smiley face.
yeah, it makes me happy. So what happened was I was practicing my habits, right? In my first book. And when you really get into the rhythm, I started having what I was calling these magic carpet days. And I was like, oh my God, my energy is off the charts. I feel amazing. I feel healthy and strong and excited and inspired. So this book is taking the habits and focusing them on, talking about energy. And there's energy from food, there's energy from sleep and working out, but there's also energy from your focus. So if we went outside on a sunny day and I took a magnifying glass and some leaves, I could take all that power of the sun and focus it into a fire. Most people are putting their focus all over the place. We're running around, handling emails. We're just so wishy washy. And this book is about taking all your energy and focusing it on what you want, what's the outcome you want, what are the steps you're taking. And it's similar to the first book, but again, it goes a little bit deeper into the science and the effects of what happens to your brain, and writing a new story, writing your outcome, and then taking these baby steps. So very excited. And can I share a story?
Oh my God, yes, please, Michelle.
What happened was, when I wrote this too, it's, the state of the world is, out of control. And what really inspired me was the one thing that helped me get through, even like when COVID first happened. I remember the first time I saw my neighbor in like the supermarket with a hazmat outfit, I was like, what is wrong with it? He's crazy. Like, I was really in denial because I'm so positive. I thought it was like, this wasn't a real thing and people are
Yeah.
crazy. But and then the division in our country, us versus them, all these things were happening. And the one thing that really kept me sane was I stopped giving my energy to things I didn't control. And this book is about turning your focus inward versus outward. And if you could be happy with the way things are right this moment, maybe not, you know what I mean,
I
satisfied,
hear
let's
what you're saying. Yeah,
content,
I
let's
get
say,
it. Right.
then you are influential and you are in that zone. If you're angry, if you're yelling and screaming and trying to control everything outside of you, you're exhausted. So I want people to refocus their energy, realign, tap into that higher self power, and then go out and change the world.
Yeah, I will tell you, I stopped watching the news years back.
Yeah.
I'm a much better person for it.
Yes. Me too.
Yeah,
And more and more people are doing it because they're just
right.
fabricating. They're producing it for us. They're not reporting, they're producing.
Yeah. And to your point, how much of that do I have control over?
Right.
Yeah. So great. It sounds, Michelle, kind of like it's a book about manifesting.
So interesting. So the first book is more rooted in research and science.
Right.
And I'll be really honest, my publisher, every time I quoted someone in the first book, I had to go back and find the book where I read it, the page number. I had to copy the cover, copy the
Oh,
inside. So this book is based on what I believe. So I decided not to put as much research, but it's there. I just didn't
yeah.
quote people as much as I did in the first book. But it is metaphysical, and I do live, I always say, with one foot in each world. And I don't need to have the proof to believe that this stuff works because I have the results.
So, Michelle, first of all, I love what you're saying. Second, our whole show is based on science. So, we talk about social psychology experiments and behavioral trigger experiments, and just we talk about why this type of communication works. So, I love what you're saying, and thank you again for being on the show. My question to you is, oftentimes when I bring a speaker on, they come in and they know certain myths that are out there that keep people from achieving this.
Yeah.
So, what would you say that the common myths are about happiness? Like, what if somebody comes back and says, Michelle, how am I going to be, magic carpety all the time? And
Yes.
so, what are the myths you would say keep people from reaching the plateau of that magic carpet?
Yeah. Number one is your beliefs. It's, do you believe that happiness can be yours? And you determine that, right? I can't define happiness for you, Jake. You have to define what that means to you. And I always say anything you don't have in your life right now is based on a belief. So and let me even tell you the backstory of this. Like, my dad, love him dearly, but he struggled with his self-worth all his life. His dad died when he was 4. My grandma, who loved him so much, but she had to put him in a convent so she could go to work. So he had this like abandonment, like people aren't gonna,
Yeah.
nobody wants me or cares for me, and like father, like daughter. So I struggled with, I was a people pleaser. I'm the number one first daughter, and I learned at a very early age, if I do this for you, you like me. So I went
Right.
around pleasing everybody. But when you're a people pleaser, you get exhausted really quickly.
Yeah.
So the key was for me to figure out my own self-worth. And if I could really know that what I'm bringing to the world is from my heart and different from everybody else, I feel better. I feel happier. I feel that I'm not trying to be anyone different. And even you said about the smiley faces. My first business flyer years ago, I think I had a butterfly on it, and someone said to me, "Who's going to buy that in corporate? No one's going to buy a butterfly." So I switched it. But now, of evolution, I'm the happy face person. I like bright colors. I'm loud. So I really, and I am a happy person because I've taught myself. But so not everybody likes that. So there will, early in my career, someone said to me, "Take your pom poms and go someplace else." so,
Oh my goodness.
so
Wow.
I look for the believers. Not everyone is going to be up for this, and
Of
I'm not
course.
here to force you to believe anything. I'm having a really good time. If you want to try it on for yourself and see if it works, great. If not, there's some other beautiful teacher out there that will help you.
Yeah. And I think one thing I've seen over the years is the more you try to please other people, not only do you become exhausted, but you never really please those other
No,
people.
no, you just have to jump higher.
So now you're tired and you still haven't accomplished your goals. So that's a really bad day.
Yeah. So dealing with my own happiness caused me to realize that I have control.
Let's touch on that just for a second because I think it's worth pursuing. As you said about determining your self-worth, for a lot of small business owners, that's a huge hill, determining your self-worth, because then trying to sell it is based on your ability to believe it. So, any tips on just finding that self-worth and glomming onto it?
Yeah, it really is. It goes back to I studied with Jack Canfield, my gosh, in
Oh my
1997.
goodness.
I love, and he
Wow.
endorsed my new book, so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
But I studied with him, and I remember, really dealing with limited beliefs. And when I started working back in 1997, I started moonlighting. I would say to myself, "Who are you, Michelle? You didn't write a book. You don't have a PhD. Who's going to listen to you?"
Yeah.
And I had to flip it to I get results and I deserve to be here. I get results and I deserve to be here. Jake, I have my affirmation cards from 1997 still in my desk drawer because I love them.
Awesome.
And it just, I had to convince myself first. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it's like push ups. If I do 2 push ups today and 2 tomorrow, then the couple days I'll do 3 and then I'll do 4. So I really rewired my brain through books, through never ending growth and learning opportunities, to having conversations with other fabulous people who believe in this stuff, like yourself.
Yeah.
And again, this is what do they say? It's the marathon, not the sprint. But if you're a small business owner, people say, why should I open a coffee shop? There's a million, but like, why shouldn't you open a coffee shop? Right.
Yeah.
I
And
like,
that's exactly why you should.
yeah. So
I-
I ask people to just, you have to flip the way, and that, I'm sorry, that, what is that joke that is coming to my mind? That sales joke where they send the 2 guys to the island to sell shoes. They say to the 2 salespeople, and the one salesperson calls back and says, "Oh, this is a bust, boss. Nobody here wears shoes, so we don't have any sales." And the second guy calls, "Oh my God, we hit pay dirt. Nobody here wears shoes." So it's all perspective.
Yeah, it's a reframe for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way I started dealing with it years ago, Michelle, was I used to compete with other people all the time. So, to your coffee shop analogy, oh my God, there's other coffee shops. And I reframed that to, am I better than I was yesterday? And me yesterday is my new competition.
I love
And
that.
it changes the way you approach each day. It's not, did somebody outsell me or did somebody do this? It's, did I take a 1% leap from yesterday to today?
Love that perspective. And it's just flipping it. So when you flip it and your heart feels better, then you know
Right.
you're on the right path. And people don't connect that. So what you're doing, like I'm better than I was yesterday. I'm my own competition. I love what you just said.
So, Michelle, I love your journey and I appreciate you being so transparent, talking about where you came from to where you are today. If you were to give one piece of advice to your younger self, if you were to look back and go, listen, 23-year-old Michelle,
Yeah.
take this one piece and your life's going to be infinitely better, what would it be?
It's what you just said. Stop competing and stop caring what other people think. It sounds so easy to say, but
It does.
I'm much better, but I won't be perfect yet. But it's the more you take those little baby steps and just saying hello to strangers, whistling in an elevator. What is it Tim Ferriss says, to go to a public place and lay down? Just start doing stuff that's out of the norm and realize like you're okay. Nothing bad happened.
Yeah.
You can embarrass yourself and still be okay, and you start to gain confidence. And the more you do those things, you gain momentum.
Sage advice. I love it. So Michele, time, good Lord, it has a way of getting away from us.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation. So tell our readers, when's your book coming out? Remind us of the titles of your two books, and tell people how they can get in touch with you, because I can't help but think that people are going to want to reach out after hearing you talk.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I am Michele Phillips. I'm on LinkedIn as Michele Phillips. I am on Instagram, Energize with Michele, 1L in Michele. My first book is Happiness is a Habit, available anywhere books are sold. My second book is Energize Your Happiness, which will be out hopefully the end of November. So we're looking at that. And did I answer all your questions? I think I did.
You did. So Michele, thank you for being on the show. I feel happier talking to you. So
See,
I
the
may
energy
call
is
you more often.
contagious.
We call it emotional contagions, and those are the
Yes.
type that I love to catch. But thank you very much for being on the show. And Michele, continue to build those happiness and write about them so those of us who read it can share in your joy.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
that.
much for having me. This was so much fun. Thank you.
Thanks for checking out Own the Room with Jake Stahl. If you've gotten value from this episode, share it with the solopreneur in your life who wants to know how to communicate to be seen, heard, and respected. Review and rate the show wherever you check out podcasts, and grab your copy of Own the Room, How to Communicate to be Seen, Heard, and Respected. We'll catch you next week on Own the Room.